Penny Jake, the tribe has spoken.
Fuck you, Kevin.
Aw, fuck you too, sweetie.
I'm JJ, one of the original Tribe of Nerds members. You can catch me on Marvel, Pokemon, and other gaming podcasts.
What up? It's Josh, resident superhero nerd, but I also dabble in the occasional super villain as well.
Some may know me as the Chaos Gremlin, but really I'm just Joe King.
Pikachu, use Volt Tackle! Good job, Pikachu!
On the Tribe of Nerds.
I'll kill you last.
Jeez.
He is terrifying.
Yeah. With the, like...
No, and he's not a junkie. He has a shit ton of riz.
He is who Ryan Wayne thinks he is.
So Steve drew the short straw.
Oh, rip, Steve.
Dude, that was Scott.
Stop.
You mean nobody's told you? Told me what?
Kristin would be so mad at Shannon right now.
Unfairly.
Take care of myself.
Yeah.
Eventful episode.
Yeah, there was a lot that happened. I have thoughts on, like, I thought there would be more to Ethan than I didn't think that was going to be the end of that character in this episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds for Lost episode 15, Homecoming. Michael, Gregg, Kevin, Kristin, and I are here for a big episode of Lost. So let's talk about it. Any interesting facts from you, Michael, for this episode?
No, I got. Oh, actually, I was going to do it when we were in the episode, but I'll do it now. It's just a fun little tidbit. The flashback story where is it Lucy?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. Lucy's talking about her dad buying a paper company in Slough. That's a reference to the UK office, which that branch of the Dunder Mifflin for the UK branch is a paper company in Slough. So it's a nice little nod to that because the writers of Lost were big fans of The Office.
Wow. That's
okay. I like that.
Cool. Yeah. Well, any other thoughts before Kristin takes it away with the synopsis, or we ready to get into it?
Shannon still sucks.
I got one.
I can't bring her up any other time in this episode, but that's okay.
We are doing another.
Imagine how much Boomy sucks this episode.
What did you say, Gregg?
So we are doing another episode recording today.
Maybe.
If we do, this will be the last episode that's 20 years old or older.
Oh, wow.
This is on February 9th when this episode released.
Oh. That is a fun fact.
That is good. Yeah. All right. Kristin, you ready to get into the synopsis for Homecoming?
I'm ready. I love this episode. This is such a great episode. I mean, obviously we left on the cliffhanger of Locke and Boone out trying to get Vincent, and Claire showing up out of the random, which is a great cliffhanger to leave, especially when you have a week to wait as when it airs. Like, people are like, oh my gosh, she's back. What is happening? Where'd she come from? All these things. We still didn't really get any real answers at this point. We obviously start the episode with Locke and them bringing Claire back to the caves. She's all kinds of out of it. She is panicked. She doesn't know who these people are. She has no memory of anything. And, you know, Charlie then comes in and hands her diary to try and help boost her things after she's calmed down. Again, I love these like moments with Charlie and this is going to lead into the flashback that we're going to see, is Charlie really pays special attention to Claire more so than anybody else on this island.
Mhm.
We saw that back when Ethan took her, she's like, you talk to me. Everybody else is scared of me. I'm like this ticking time bomb. You're the one that actually like talks to me. And he doesn't stop. Let's remember here, they were taken, kidnapped. He was then hung by a tree, almost died. And he's still like and these are within what they say Claire was missing for, like a week at this point. Like, we have to take into consideration that literally a week ago, he had his own trauma that he's still dealing with, but then still takes the time to. Claire is obviously completely upset. She's now thrown into this cave of people who she has no idea who they are. And he's like, here's your diary. Also, side note, I didn't read it, but yes, I did. But here's your diary. Maybe this will help, jog your memory. And so I think that is obviously a very touching moment that we have to really think about as far as timeline of them on the island. But obviously, like I mentioned, that does bring us back into our flashback with Charlie. I'm going to mention, this is not my favorite flashback of any of the flashbacks that we get in the series of Lost. I think that this is the most boring part, but it's needed for the episode. Especially the very last line of the flashback, which we'll get later into the podcast. But it does open us up. We see Charlie and them. He's with a friend. They're at the bar. And I love this part because you get to hear You All Everybody, which anytime we hear that song, because it's like literally the worst song ever, but it's so good at the same time. It's such a bop. They're obviously playing something. He's like, what are you gonna do? They see this group of girls. They have this whole hashed out plan to start this relationship, if you will, for obvious reasons, because they're needing a fix. They're needing that drug. Which again, like I said, not my favorite flashback. I feel like it's completely boring, but very needed for the episode. So Jake, huge opening here, because you've been saying for the last couple of podcasts here that you're like, I want to know what happened to Claire. I want to know what happened to Ethan. So what were your first reactions going into this very somewhat packed opening, but still not really giving us much yet?
Yeah, I liked that we were finally starting to get a continuation after a couple episodes away from the situation. So I really liked that, and I found it interesting that Claire seems to have amnesia. She can't remember what happened, and that must be due to whatever trauma she faced when Ethan had her. And so I was very interested from that moment on to know what happened, and maybe we'd get flashbacks, and maybe we still will get flashbacks to what actually happened, and we're just not there yet. So I guess thinking about it that way, I'm definitely just holding out for what they'll show us when it's the right time.
Yeah. Anybody else on this opening? What were your thoughts when you watched it for the first time yourself, or even this time?
The whole thing of Claire coming back in. Can you imagine waking up and being in a dank cave surrounded by people you have no idea who they are? That would be terrifying. And Emily Durham did a great job of she screams a lot. She screamed in the last Claire episode we had as well. This blood curdling scream. It must be so scary. And in fact, the last thing she remembers is being on the plane. And I think, oh well, yeah, we crashed here, and no one's coming to get us.
We're not on the plane anymore.
Yeah,
right.
No, on the flashback side of things, I do think that I do agree, and I think that the flashback, in a way, it doesn't really fit this episode. I think apart from that last line, I don't think it's one that we talked about with All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues, where that Jack storyline really played into everything that happened with Charlie being hung in that episode, and it the whole thing just felt like one long story of Jack as a character. This one felt like Charlie's story felt a little bit, I don't know, it was like a weird comedy piece almost, where he's got the photocopier and stuff. It just felt like an odd flashback for this specific, really action-packed, crazy story.
I would like to disagree with that, only because it's similar to the way with Jack, where Jack was the whole storyline of the episode. When you break it down, the flashbacks and whatnot, Charlie is showing the exact opposite. It's showing that he couldn't be trusted. It's showing that he couldn't be a good person, and now he's a bad person trying to be a good person on the island.
Yeah, I'm with Gregg on the flashback. I think that the story of the flashback is the addict who like goes in and like goes to do this bad thing, and then like because deep down he is a good person, he wants to do the right thing. He tries to turn his life around, but then because he is who he is, like at the end of the day, he makes the wrong choice and does the wrong thing. So like watching that kind of like up and down, then we see him on the island and like he really is like still trying to be this good person. And so we get to see like the fully realized version of what he wants to be. So I actually do like, although it's not the most exciting, I do like the juxtaposition of like Charlie in the real world versus Charlie on the island. I will say, going back, I was watching the first time. I was like, is she still pregnant? Is she still pregnant? Is she still pregnant? Okay.
I love that you're like, okay, we're good.
Yeah, I was wondering that at first too, and then I'm like, okay, she still is a big belly. So.
And like, because in our time, it's weeks, right? In our time when we're watching it live, this is like now 2 months that she's been gone. In island time, it's a couple of days. So like,
I think
in those couple of days, did she have the baby and Ethan took the baby, or is she still pregnant? Like, so that was the first thing I was looking for when this episode started.
I think a lot of people were. I know I was too. I already brought up my thoughts. Just I feel like I like what Michael said. Again, we have to give props where props are due. That Emily DeRavine, like her acting on point. Like she is so, again, like being the one of this podcast that has actually been pregnant, the hormones that are obviously just like with that, but on top of being woken up to people you don't know and you have no idea where you're at. You remembered being on a plane, now you're on an island, pregnant. Wait, what's gonna happen? I'm pregnant. Like going through, thinking about that moment of like, she had the time to, when they first crash, to kind of get her mind right. Like, okay, we crashed. Well, I'm on an island. I'm pregnant now. What's going to happen if we don't get rescued? Like all of these things. And now she has to go through it again.
She has to go through it again.
It's not fair. It's not fair. The emotions that you have to go through in that moment. But yeah, she's a phenomenal actress. I mean, she does not get enough credit. And so I definitely think we need to give credit where credit is due there.
Yes, absolutely. Agree. Yeah, I think a lot of times she gets kind of dismissed, but yes, I think you're right. Portraying the pregnant woman who is very scared because she doesn't know what's going to happen. Like, how is she supposed to deliver this baby? Like, I think she does that really well.
Yeah, 100%. All right, moving on. Here's where we get a little cray up in here. This episode is jam-packed, which also, again, to point out, like, I do, Gregg and Kevin, I do agree. Yes, this flashback, it's showing a lot there, but it's also, again, like, I just feel like it's boring, but it's okay because this episode is so jam-packed that it's okay to have like a boring flashback. Imagine if this flashback was like insanely good on top of this insanely good episode. Your mind would be warped. But obviously we have
on heroin.
Oh, right. Yes, maybe. I've never been there, but that would probably be what it's like.
Yeah.
So Jack, Locke, and Saeed and Charlie, they're discussing Claire's memory. Jack's like, I mean, it could come back, it could not. I love, like, sometimes with doctors, you, like, never get an answer, and you're like, but you're the doctor. And this is such a good point of this, of, like, who else will know this answer except for you? And you're sitting here going, like, I don't know. Like, it's just, like, one of those moments. And so, I mean, for anybody that's ever dealt with a doctor and a diagnosis, like, hilarious in this moment, because it does happen. But anyway, so Charlie ends up going off with Jin. Of course, I love this moment because Jin's just like trying to live his life. He doesn't understand what's going on. And Charlie's having this full-on conversation. Jin's like, what is wrong with you? Like, I don't understand a word that you're saying. But again, I love these moments with Jin, especially like Jin and Sun, because people like they aren't like they could easily be dismissed by a group of people that are like, well, they can't understand us. Like, why even like talk to them. But still, like, you get these great moments like we saw with Hurley and him with the fish. Like, you know, like Jin is there, and he is definitely with these people just as much as Sun is. And so, I mean, I just think that that's such a great moment. But going back to where they're at, we hear a swooshing sound, and Jin is knocked out. Now we have crazy Ethan back in the picture. Again, also, Ethan, phenomenal job. Like the
Terrifying.
terrifying. He is so, his facial, like, oh, you
Scratches down his face.
Yes. Like, again, but we talk about this almost every episode. The attention to detail that Lost gives, like, certain things is great. But yeah, so that's the terrifying part. You do see these scratches down, which would obviously maybe suggest that Claire has done that, has run away. But he goes up to Charlie again, strangling this poor Charlie. Like, he's like, just again, we're talking about a week. Like, this poor neck, like, he's so done for. But like, also the power behind Ethan, he's lifting him up.
Yes.
Like, it's crazy to think. Like, Ethan's like one of those, like, this is for you, Jake, and I don't know anything about it, so like, forgive me, all you Marvel people, but it's like a Hulk moment. Like, Ethan's not very much a big guy either. Like, but he's like full of rage and able to lift him up, so it's crazy. But he does tell Charlie, "You're gonna give me Claire back. Like, you're giving me Claire back, and if you don't, I will kill one of you every day until I get Claire back, and I'll leave you for last." This threat alone, oh my God.
And I'll leave you for last. Like,
so sadistic. It's so insane to think about this moment. It's just, I can't even get over Ethan, like, how well Lost created this villain of Ethan. Like, talk about villain upon villain. Like, this is like the epitome because of just how sadistic he is. And so,
in like 3 episodes.
Right. We don't
It's all
like,
it was,
we had little Hunter Ethan for like a split second, and now we have this huge villain. It's crazy. Obviously, we see that, you know, Charlie goes and tells everyone this happened. You know, Claire's like, they're kind of like leaving her a little bit in the dark about it, which, you know, Charlie plays off like, no, everything's fine. We're good. No big deal. Ethan didn't show back up and almost kill me again. It's fine. We're good, Claire. But they come up with the idea to set a booby trap for Ethan. They're setting up. I also love this so much that they have all these like trash bags full of like loud things that are gonna make the noise if he trips the wire. Where's all this coming from? Like, it's just, it's not like plain stuff. It's like you're recycling that you take out every week.
Have you not heard of all the trash in the ocean? Like, there's always trash washing up on beaches.
I know, but it's just, it's not like, it's not typical stuff. Like, if you're thinking about what they would have, this is what makes me laugh about it. It's like a tuna can randomly sitting in there, or, you know what I mean? It just seems like your average recycling that you take out every week. So
yeah, I did notice that. I was like, how did they get all these cans? Like,
it just makes me laugh. That part makes me laugh. But anyway, so they do set up all these, you know, this trigger, if you will, around their perimeter to protect themselves. They say that they need to, you know, stand guard in shifts. My man Boone, but also kind of flubs this one up royally. He tried. He is the go-getter. He's like, I volunteer as tribute. Boone, you probably shouldn't have volunteered, but he tried nonetheless, more so than Shannon's doing, let's just say that. I didn't see her volunteer, Michael. I didn't see her volunteer for shit. I didn't see her hanging up things in the tree, but, you know, I have to give
she left things to the people who had the skills to do them.
Okay, Kevin, don't get on Michael's train here, all right? So with that,
building an alliance.
They do set up this booby trap that Boone does volunteer as the very first volunteer. We see that he does fall asleep. I mean, it's a hard job. It's a very hard job to stay up all night. Boone, he gave it his all. But he is awoken to the crash of one of their booby traps, screaming, all that he's running. They're like, oh my gosh, I must have fallen asleep. Like, they're all like, okay, well, he must be in here, or maybe this scared him off. Well, just kidding. Now we find out there's more screaming because there is somebody that is dead. He has fulfilled the duty, and poor Scott. Scott and Steve is no longer.
Steve.
It's now just Steve. Scott has died, but also again to prove that Ethan is the most villainous villain of all time here. He has broken every bone in Scott's body. We're talking about like Kate's going to do fingers, neck, all these things. He didn't just kill the man. He was like, y'all, I'm legit. Don't fuck with me. So I mean, it's one of, again, to just prove how horrendous he is as a person. So I'm gonna pause it here. Jake, what were your thoughts in this moment?
Well, so to Ethan picking up Charlie by the neck, it was actually Thanos and Loki. Like that was basically.
I told you I was fucking up.
So, good news is that he didn't actually snap Charlie's neck, so that's Charlie's okay. But yeah, I felt bad. We thought it was Steve, but it's actually Scott. Hurley messes that up. But yeah, that's just brutal. And I feel like they set it up that like Boone is gonna go in and like all of a sudden Ethan's gonna kill him when he runs into the woods there, and then it turns out he's okay, and then they hear the scream and they go back and it's Scott that's been brutally murdered instead. This random person we've heard the name of, and Hurley's called him Steve, but like we haven't known him at all. So yeah, I think it was good to show like the brutality of this character that we've continuously seen that throughout like the last 5 episodes or the 3 episodes that Ethan's been in. So
I really love the scene like going to the beginning of this little segment as well, where you have like Locke, Jack, Saeed planning this whole thing. I love all these big characters coming together to decide how they're going to deal with this situation, and a debate of whether we select people, do we bring people to the caves. Locke has this great line of like, this is Ethan's island, we don't know who he is or how he's able to do the things he does. What if he wants us to all gather in the caves where we can just be taken out? So it's a really fun dynamic of deciding how to deal with this with our like core characters.
Yeah.
The Ethan scene with Charlie is hands down my favorite scene from this episode. Like there's nothing better than that. Ethan was an absolute perfect pick for that role.
Yeah.
That's all I got for this part though. That was the only part that stood out from most of this episode, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, Ethan is so terrifying. Like we said, him being able to lift up, like, I hate to be the one who's like, I do lift things. Like lifting with one hand, even little Dominic Monaghan is very difficult to do. Like to just like that is crazy strength. And then he's breaking all the bones in poor Scott Steve's body. Like it's, like he is terrifying. So like I'm in between Jack and Locke. This is one of the episodes I'll give Locke a little bit of credit because like, yeah, this is Ethan's island. Like Ethan clearly knows, like he's going to be able to predict what we're going to do because he knows the space. So like we need to be prepared for that. And Jack, I do agree though that everyone needed to be told because like imagine you're one of the extras and then you wake up in the middle of the night to somebody being dragged away and having all their bones crushed and broken. Like you're going to freak out. Like you need to know ahead of time, hey, we need to be on guard. Like you're just sleeping. Like, no, you need to be on guard. And then Boone, I've rewatched. So I watched this live. I've rewatched it once. I have not noticed before, like how hard Boone like tries and wants to be a big kid. Like he wants so badly to be taken seriously and like either isn't or like proves that he shouldn't be. And it's very like, it's a very interesting thing to watch. Like he just, maybe I didn't notice it because I was like approximately Boone's age at the time, but like he just so badly wants to be, in the main group. in with Jack and Locke and Saeed and Sawyer and like to be one of these decision makers and Kate and just like have people take him seriously, and then like bro falls asleep.
The look on Saeed's face when Boone volunteers, where he's like,
"Yes,
really, this kid," and Locke's like, "Yeah, Boone, we're counting on you."
Yeah, I will give a little bit of credit to Boone and that it was supposed to be shifts. It wasn't supposed to be all night long. So like someone should have come over and checked on him and been like, "Hey, you swap out. You go. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take this spot." So I will give him that little bit of credit. But like I said, it's very interesting to see this time around like how badly Boone wants to be taken seriously.
Yeah, I had never thought about it before until you just mentioned it. But again, it's another opposite of Off the Island. Like Boone's mentioned he worked for, or he was the leader of a huge wedding company for his sister, and now he's a nobody on the island, basically.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
He's used to being a big shot. He can go places and drop 50 grand and tell people what to do. And now he can't. And now no one takes him seriously. So yeah.
I mean, he might be needed if there's ever a wedding on the island. You know, he can play.
Claire and Charlie ever get married, maybe he'll be there to help.
I know, but like also, I mean, like you guys are all saying, like this is Boone very much was a top dog, but also to the point of he's talking about it was his mom's company. Did mom just give him this big role because obviously Boone has, not. He's fallen asleep or you know what I mean? So but again, to Kevin's point, it was supposed to be in shifts. Why was he the one that was there all night? Was that a writer's error there? Or did somebody not show up for their shift? But you can't fully place the blame on Boone. Poor Boone, he was just trying to help. All right.
Don't be he did volunteer to do the grown-up thing and he did drop the ball. But like I said, someone should have come and checked on him. Not because he's a child, but because that's part of
right. It was this
what that job is.
I'm just saying, if the schedule was set up like the military, he was supposed to go wake his relief up. So it's on him.
Well, maybe nobody informed him of that. No,
you think Boone was in the military before? You think Boone knows military?
He was a lifeguard.
Listen. I'm just trying to Boone. I'm giving him all the credit because, like, also I do have to say,
you just think he's cute.
He is adorable.
Boone sucks. Let's move on.
Yes, he's very cute. And yes, he does suck at this moment. Poor Scott is dead because of him. But I will also say though, with this is like think about even just like us in orgs, right? Or like any game or anything. It is so hard to be the first one to volunteer to do something, like because then it all falls on you. So I do have to say that has to be taken into credit a little bit. But we will move on from Boone. I also want to take the moment to talk about Ethan coming in from the ocean. He swam in there like, here you go, Jake, Aquaman, and killed somebody. Like think of this where did he come from? He swam the entire ocean? Like, where did he come from out of the ocean to do this? Like, to see all their faces when they finally realize that, like, this was such a great idea. Oh shit, we didn't think about the ocean. But then it's like, the ocean. Like, how did he come up here from the ocean? It's like one of those moments where you're like, I know when I was watching it for the first time, I'm like, this makes zero sense. Like, where did he come from in the ocean? Like, they have this all tripped up. Like, where did he, like, walk in from and then swim over from in the middle of the night? No, like, it's just, like, one of those moments to even just prove again that Ethan is just insane.
Monster.
So, yeah. Going into the episode again, we now see that they have buried poor Scott. I just love that we all know Scott and Steve. Even Kevin was like, Scott Steve, like Steve was his last name, but it was just one of those moments. But yes, so we do see them burying them. Of course, here we come with Shannon being the bitch that she is, ruins poor Claire's whole little perfect existence of her not understanding what's happening right now because she has dealt with some trauma. And Shannon's like, you know what? Fuck you. This is all because of you. He died because of you. You're a bitch. Like, this is such a dick move from Shannon.
What happened? What are you talking about?
I understand that it happened, but like she is a fragile little delicate flower, and Shannon's just like, bro's dead because of you. Like, this
He
is
didn't
like,
say that.
He didn't say that. She didn't say that.
You did
No.
not say that. You're just making stuff up.
I'm not.
Did,
That's
did
'cause
I
Jake
not say?
remember that.
Did I not say Kristin would hate Shannon for this when that
Yes.
happened?
Claire deserved to know.
I have to give my dings, but that's basically what she said. I mean, it's not verbatim, but it's basically what she said. Watch the episode and decide for yourself, but that's basically what she said. So of course, Claire is very upset at Charlie over this because, you know, she wanted to, again, she has felt like nobody talks to her on this island. Like, granted, she forgot that part, but she's reliving these feelings yet again. Everybody's, you know, treating her very much like with kid gloves. And so she goes and yells over to Charlie, you know, whatever, like, this is so, I can't believe you lied to me. I came back not knowing anybody and I decided to trust you. Like, you're the only person I even, like, gave anything willing to trust with, and then you lied to me. And he's like, I was just trying to take care of you, which of course is going back into our flashbacks again of all of that stuff. But she walks off. I can take care of myself. And just he's, you know, again, that goes into the flashbacks of him meeting what's her name again? Lucy.
Yeah.
See, it's so I just don't care. But we do see, like, going into the flashbacks, I haven't talked about them in a minute. We see that he has, you know, they were at the bar. They've, you know, grown this friendship. They're drinking. They're having fun. You see him and Lucy start this relationship. She wants him to meet her dad. Obviously, she brings him.
Oh. She brings him.
She brings him
somewhere.
I assume brings him back to her house is what she saw.
Yeah. So that happens, and so they have the dinner, and I'm carrying on from Kristin.
I got the thing pulled up. Oh.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I know they're talking about, like,
of all the times I've wanted Kristin to shut up, like, not right now.
They're talking about what Charlie does for a living, right? Is basically
this heartbreaking conversation about, like, the demise, like, where he is, like, slowly accepting the demise of Drive Shaft as he's saying it, which is also like, how much of that is planned, how much of that is like he's really having that feeling right there in that conversation, how much of that is him, like, playing the character that he's trying to play right now, which is also like a super interesting thing to talk about. Oh, welcome back.
You're back.
What just happened?
You froze and disappeared.
That was the weirdest thing. Literally, my whole thing just, like, shut down. It was the weirdest thing. Anyway, sorry. You know what? I blame Shannon. It's all because of Shannon.
This is staying in for that.
Let's do it now, yeah.
Megan Grace is sitting there right now like, what can I do?
What can I do
I
to
know.
ruin Kristin's life today? Just like I do everybody on the island. All right, back to where we were at. Oh my gosh. We're in the flashback. Let me get it together. That was the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. But yes, we were in the flashback. To where we see she has brought Charlie back to her house. We see a bunch of replicas. That's where we're at when this happens.
Yes, and we predicted some of these things. Yep.
We see that we're at her house. There are a bunch of, like, very, you know, collectible things out there on display. You know, she even brings up, oh, that was Winston Churchill's, like, all these things that maybe a junkie shouldn't be around, but she doesn't obviously know that he is a junkie.
Right.
But we obviously see now why this girl was basically targeted by Charlie and his friend. And then, of course, she wants him to meet Dad. And then, okay, we've met Dad, and he's at dinner, and Charlie, like, also, like, for somebody that's on heroin, like, he's doing a phenomenal job to pretend that he's not. Like, he's showing no signs that he is a drug addict. He's doing a phenomenal job here. And he obviously for now. But we do see him talking that, you know, the band has broken up, money's tight, like, all these things that maybe I wouldn't be sharing to, like, my girlfriend's dad for the first time, but neither here nor there. Go you, Charlie. To which then the dad offers him a job, which we brought up that he then was selling copiers and things, which we'll get to the later part of that flashback later on in the episode. But anyone want to talk about just this, like, part of the flashback, seeing Charlie kind of the timeline of him with Lucy and these, like, obviously the plan all along, or even just the Charlie and Claire, her being upset about it, because that's obviously going to lead into what's going to happen next. No? All right.
No, well, while
no, I just didn't know if we wanted to talk about that.
While you're gone, we kind of did talk about like how is this a genuine, like he's really realizing in this moment that like Drive Shaft is over, or is this part of the con? And like
I think it was real.
I think it was real, but I think that I think that it happens in a way where like we kind of question it as a viewer, and then definitely Lucy thinks it's not real later. Like, but I think it's genuine in that moment.
Agreed.
And then Claire mad at Charlie. I mean, listen, Shannon did the right thing. She deserved to know.
She's such a bitch.
Yeah, I actually am on the side of I think Claire should know what's going on, and so I think she has a right to be a little upset at Charlie for that. So
I listen, as much as I hate Shannon, and let me just say fuck you, Shannon, because we haven't had a good like FU this episode. But as much as I do understand what you all are saying, like to tell Claire she has a right to know in this moment. Again, like I understand why she wasn't told in this moment, like why they felt that it was necessary to keep this from her. One, she has no memory. She has no idea like who the hell is Ethan. She doesn't even understand what has happened. Two, she's heavily pregnant. Heavily pregnant.
Heavily pregnant.
That she can literally any stress, anything can like lead to labor. Like, you know what I mean? These are all things that maybe we should be avoiding in this current moment because we have Ethan wanting to kill everybody. So maybe Claire not going into labor would be a great moment to like not happen. So I can completely understand why she was not told in this moment. So I am kind of siding a little bit of keeping her with blinders on a little bit because there are so many other things you can't like. I understand. I'm not saying keep Claire in the dark for everything, but in this current Claire state, yes, because of everything else that we have to focus on right now, we cannot focus on keeping Claire calm. You know what I'm saying? So I do 100% believe, because look at how she freaks out. I mean, rightfully so. I would freak out too if some guy's like, I want you back or I'm going to kill everybody. But this was not the time to get Claire to freak out. We have way too much going on right now to have the crazy about to pop pregnant girl having a conniption.
I understand what you're saying, and again, I appreciate your perspective as the person here who has been pregnant. But just like, like the situation requires people to know as much information as possible. Like, yes, it's going to be hard to deal with, but like she needs to know that she's in danger. Like, she needs to know.
No, I agree. Like I said, I can see the reason why, but also I definitely see the reason why to keep her in the dark. So getting into the kind of the big parts leading up to the end of this episode, Jack now has decided he's going to reveal what was in the case from all those episodes ago. He has guns. It's let's arm up. We're going after Ethan, a big FU Ethan. And Charlie wants to go, and they're like, no. But Kate wants to go, and Sora's like, oh, I have this extra gun. You got some ammo. Here you go, Kate. You can join. Also, that was a big dick move from all of them because obviously Charlie is the closest with Claire. I know why they were doing it because he is full of rage, and Saeed has brought up we need to capture Ethan. We need to question Ethan. Yeah. So I understand why they're basically saying, Charlie, go the hell away right now. But maybe explain this to Charlie in that way instead of just completely shutting him out. Like, I felt like that was maybe not the best way to go about that.
Yep.
I mean, they do say, like, have you ever fired a gun? Like, Charlie has no experience with that kind of thing. I don't think Charlie was in any way the right person to have the gun.
No.
Well, in all fairness, has Jack fired a gun? Like, we don't know if Jack fired a gun.
We're going to get to that.
We'll get to that.
But what I'm saying, but the only one that we can, like, definitively, probably the fugitive, probably Sawyer, because Lord knows what that man has done, but also he's hot. And Saeed. And Saeed. Those are the only
I love when you agree with me by accident because I said the same thing.
Those are the only three that we know
have
Saeed's the only one that we know definitively has experience with a gun.
Right.
And then we can assume Kate and Sawyer. So, like, sorry, Greg, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Kate in one of the earlier episodes asked how to use a gun because she's never used one before. So why are they giving her a gun during the polar thing?
So
she was lying.
She was lying, and like, if you're Jack, you know she's the fugitive, and we know as the audience that she pretended to not know how to use the gun, but she actually did know how to use the gun because then she shot everybody in that group. Yeah. But like, if you're Jack and you have to like, if I'm Jack, I'm not taking a gun for myself. I don't know how to fire the gun. I don't know how to use the gun. I don't know how it's going to feel to recoil. Like, no, I'm going to give it to somebody who probably has more training than I do. So.
No, I mean more of from a Sawyer perspective because he was there with the polar bear. He heard her say that, and then he gives her the gun. It didn't make much sense.
I think he's just trying to get her on side.
Oh yeah, but
he don't give a shit if she can shoot it or not.
To annoy Jack.
Sawyer's using his charms.
Listen, Sawyer does no wrong. We can't even discuss it. So, but I mean, I just think that this is a moment where. Like, I get where they're like, Charlie, have you ever fired a gun? But, like, who the hell are you to say, like, again, like, Jack, like, well, have you, I would have been like, have you ever fired a gun? You know what I mean?
Jack, even if not everybody knows, Jack and Locke definitely know that he is, like, a very recently in recovery drug addict. Like, you are not giving that person a gun. No.
Well, and I get that, too. But, like I said, I mean, maybe, it was very dismissive in how they did that when, obviously, Charlie is invested with Claire. He was the one that he almost killed. Like, I get why they're not, because we know that he's fueled by rage and he is not the best, like, judge of character right now. But there's other ways to have gone about this. Like, Charlie, I know that you want to protect Claire, you know, because they're bringing Claire. She's part of the thing. Like, you come and walk with Claire until, you know, just be there and help Claire. We don't need to give you a gun. Like, be a part of this mission because you're very close.
That's fair. Yes,
I just felt like it was very a dismissive moment to be like, "Fuck you, bro."
But
like,
I'm not giving him a gun.
Fine, like I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they treated Charlie in a way that was you were asking for what was going to happen at this end of this episode. I'm just saying, you guys all asked for that shit.
All right, walk with Claire. Okay.
Well, I mean, maybe make it not so much of just walk with her, but like give him a job on this mission. I don't know. Anyway, that's just my feeling on it because I feel like that's of course what leads up to what happens. But obviously they all take off. So Saeed has come up with this whole brilliant mission. Claire is going to be the bait. Also, Claire like agreeing to this like heavily pregnant. Like, I think this was also her because she's now so pissed off. Now she wants to but this was not a smart idea. I get why they were doing all this, but very heavily pregnant woman. Like, this is not what we should be doing, but we're using Claire as bait. We're all going to be around her and we're going to take down Ethan. We're going to capture him and we're going to question him. Great idea in theory, but there's so many things that could go wrong, which we see, but this was not, maybe we should have thought this one out a little bit more, but this was the moment that they just killed Scott. They don't want to wait another night to see who he's going to kill again. You know what I mean? So I feel like this was a very rushed, but somewhat thought out plan. So I give them a little bit of credit here. So then, obviously they put Claire on this trail. Also, it's lost. So of course you got to throw in this heavy rain to not help anybody in this mission at this point.
Why didn't Locke tell them it was going to rain?
Yeah, Locke, where are you at? It's just one of those things. And so with that, it's just Claire is walking. We don't know where they're at now because we do see Claire kind of arise from this wooded area. She's now by herself. They do start to show everybody and where their positions are. We got one in a tree. We got one behind a bush. We got all these. So we see all these.
I eat in the tree.
I have to say it. So we do. We see that they have now gotten in position. Claire is just standing there. Also, I would love to hear your all's thoughts on why they decided to just basically stop here. And let's just do we have we don't have a timeline of when Ethan's showing up? Did anybody think these things out? They could have been standing there for days and while Ethan's killing people because he doesn't know Claire took off. Yeah, obviously, Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, well, I agree that it's a rush plan, but I just think they were in this position where it's people are dying. They have to do something. This is the plan they have, and they haven't got much else on. They might as well wait around. They knew, Ethan says, bring Claire here. So they just got to wait it out. It's a good old fashioned stakeout.
Yeah.
They have to deal with this guy. It's just as simple as that now. Like, people are dying.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, we know that Ethan is obviously watching Claire. So obviously he knows that they're taking her out there. But I just, again, I feel like this is a very rushed decision. Rightfully so, they have to address this. So I agree with you on that. I just feel like there were so many variables, and this is like, we probably could have thought this one out better. But nonetheless, they are in the jungle. It's downpouring rain. Poor helpless Claire is just sitting there, and then like a freaking creature of the night out of your nightmares, here comes Ethan crawling up. They did such a phenomenal job. I've never been more scared of somebody in my life than I am of Ethan. And obviously Claire instantly major regret. She's like, nope, call it, I'm backing out. Y'all take care of it. I'm out. Screw this plan. But also I want to get your guys' thoughts when we take our break here. Of Claire, like, do we think Claire starts to get a memory of Ethan and that is why she's so terrified? Or the fact that he came out of nowhere as the scary guy?
All of them.
Like, is that
All
why
of the
she's
above.
getting it?
Yeah, I think it's both.
Yeah.
Because I do wonder if, like, seeing him, like, maybe triggered something, because we don't know what happened out there. We don't know any of the things that have happened, but I don't know. They never talk on that. And so I just was curious if you guys thought that this was her getting a flashback of maybe what Ethan has done to her, or if this is just like, I have forgotten everything that's happened to me, and this guy is scary as all hell. So what are your guys' thoughts real quick before we get into the major of it?
It's certainly possible, because we also hear that later she remembers peanut butter. So after this incident, she does at least have some form of memory of something, where before she had absolutely nothing. So yeah, seeing this golem creature come crawling out of the trees, like, I think that would trigger something in you.
Yeah. Jake, what were your thoughts? Do you think that she, like, maybe remembered Ethan a little bit, or is this just like, I had no memory that any of this was happening, now we have a creepy dude?
Both. I mean, I think it's all related to trauma either way, because I think she lost her memory from the trauma, but she can remember. I feel like she can definitely remember who Ethan is from that. Like, it just strikes memory. And again, someone like coming out of the woods like that is scary as hell. Like, I would run as well. So anybody would. I thought that it was a fun fight scene as well, getting into that. Then Jack just spears him out of nowhere like a wrestling move, and then you get another fist fight, and this time Jack comes out on top. So
Lucky you, Jack.
Yeah, he clearly learned something from the first fight. So
he took some Ethan moves.
Yeah.
Before we get more into that, Greg, Kevin, any thoughts on, did you feel like this was Claire remembering Ethan, or do you feel like it was just a terrified moment?
I mean, I would be terrified regardless, because like, this man is terrifying. But I do, like, I think by evidence, by like her saying I remember peanut butter later, this is like yes, this is like, this triggers memory starting to come back.
Greg?
I agree. I think it's got some memories trickling back, but it's also Claire doing what she's good at and just screaming at the top of her lungs.
She is good at that. All right, so jumping into where Jake was leading us in, yeah, we get to this moment where she takes off at like a bat out of hell. She is like, I retreat. I'm good. I don't want any part of this. To where we do see that Jack comes out of nowhere like the flying monkey that he is and tackles Ethan. They get into their little fight. And he does come out on top, where we saw in the last fight that Ethan stood over him and basically was like, you're not doing anything. I'm in control. Well, guess what? The roles are reversed, bitch. Now I'm in control. And that was very much Jack's moment of like, I'm on top of you now. I'm taking control. Where then they're like, okay, don't shoot. We have everybody kind of rushing in at this moment. Saeed is right there with Jack. Like, he's like, I'm good. I got him. He punches him out a few more times. We see Kate and Sawyer come up. Sawyer's like, I'm ready to kill something. And they're like, chill out, bro. And he's like, okay, I came out to shoot something. I mean, I only shot a polar bear, but all right, cool. So they do see a moment where they are letting Ethan kind of get his bearings back, which I don't know why this was like the moment. This man is clearly insane. I would have given him zero room to even breathe.
Shoot his kneecap so he can't move.
Something. Like, tie him up. Like, they're letting him just get into a kneeling position. I don't know if Jack thought his punches were that powerful, but they do allow him to kind of have some movement where they are about to take him in and I guess start doing the Saeed torture method of it all to ask him these questions. And then out of nowhere, boom, boom, boom. And Ethan is now dead. And you look back and it is Charlie. He has come to Claire's rescue and has said, not going to happen. Not on my watch.
Not today, Satan.
Not today, Satan. But you guys don't know what you're dealing with Ethan. Like, I've been trying to tell y'all, like, we're not taking any chances with this man around Claire.
Around him.
Well, around him as well, but he's not thinking about himself in this moment. Right. He's thinking about Claire. He's
thinking about Claire, but subconsciously, he's probably also.
I mean, that's true, but with that, which is going to lead into our final flashback here. We do see them sitting back at the caves after Ethan has died. Obviously, all these things, like, you even see Claire in this moment. Like, I don't know if you guys like saw it in this moment, but this is how I took it. Is she's like, well, shit, Charlie. Like, okay, I just came out here and wasted my whole time. But also, she's kind of got the look on her face of like, that's my man. He just killed this like asshole. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she kind of has like the terrified, but like, I'm into this. Thank you for taking care of this man. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that's how I took it from Claire. But we do see back in the cave, she comes up to Charlie and says, I remember peanut butter. Why do I remember peanut butter? And he's like, well, it was imaginary peanut butter again. Oh, this moment's so freaking cute. Love it so much.
He tricked you into thinking I had peanut butter, but I didn't. Remember that? Wasn't that cute?
So cute. I love it. Listen, if I was pregnant craving something and somebody couldn't find it, but they thought of it to like, yeah, look, it's filled to the brim full of peanut butter. That is an adorable moment. It's not trick. That is adorable. Yes. But with that, we do know that she is starting to get her memory back a little bit. She is starting to remember a little bit of things. We do see that Jack comes up to Charlie and was like, we had a plan. Like, you ruined this plan. And he's like, I was not letting him get anywhere near her. It was not happening. I'm so sorry you guys thought that that's what you were going to do. I tried to tell you before y'all even went out there that this was not what was going to happen. So
honestly, he's probably right.
I mean, whatever.
He's terrifying.
They wanted to know why Ethan took her. Where did he come from? All these things. I get that. But we do go into his flashback. We've known that he was selling the copiers for Lucy, but on that morning, he's decided he's going to kick drugs. Kudos to him. That's great. It didn't work out so well in his favor, but he also, that morning, he's decided after a couple days of kicking drugs, cold turkey, mind you, that he's going to steal the one thing that he was going to steal. Maybe you probably should have stole this earlier, but okay. Steals the Winston Churchill, whatever it was, matchbox, whatever it was. Goes to work, sweating profusely and coming off of, obviously, in withdrawal, full-blown withdrawal. He's struggling very hard with this copier as he's trying to sell it. He gets sick. And then, of course, we come back to after that he's been released from the hospital. He goes to Lucy's house. She's very much crying. You can see it. Also, like, great makeup job because, like, those eyes are puffy and red. Like, that was great. Yeah. And she's just like, they pulled this off. My dad's like, this collectible off of your body because you had to be rushed to the hospital like an idiot because you're a junkie. And she's finally realizing all these things. But she says the line, which is totally the reason for this flashback, is she said, you will never take care of anyone. To which we then go back to the island where we know that Charlie is not only taking care of somebody, he's been taking care of her. This isn't just like today. He has, like I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, he has been taking care of her this entire time. He's taking so much like special everything, bringing her tea, you know what I mean? The peanut butter thing of it all. He's really, really trying so hard to take care of Claire in this moment. And whether we agree that he should have shot him or not, neither here nor there, but he wanted to make sure that she was never ever going to be in harm's way again. Also, things that he probably should have maybe taken into consideration. we don't know where Ethan came from, and if they want Claire, there might be others. Like, I don't know, but like we should probably like think about this before just maybe killing Ethan, which is what Saeed and then we're trying to do, is to find out where Ethan came from. So that is where we kind of end it all in this episode, is of Charlie just wanting to make sure that Ethan never got near Claire again. So thoughts, Jake, on watching this for the first time?
Yeah, so I mean, I feel for Charlie a little bit here that he's dealing with this. I mean, obviously he's going through withdrawals and like still trying to kick it, but like ends up working against him. Like as soon as he was like getting sick on the copier and stuff, I was like, oh no, Charlie, no. Um, and then, yeah, but I completely understand like Lucy's feelings on it, because Charlie did like lie to her and her dad, and like she genuinely felt connected to him and believed he was a good person, and he kind of betrayed that trust. So I think we said it earlier. Charlie appears to be like, maybe a bit of a, at least also like a troubled person. Like I still like Charlie. I think he's obviously still like a good person, but he's just a very troubled person trying to now be a good person. So, yeah, no, I thought that was a really well acted scene too, and between Lucy and Charlie, and then obviously informs him trying to be respectable and actually trying to take care of Claire now. It informs him shooting Ethan and ending it there. And I don't know if I was like a little bit disappointed in the moment that Ethan's just dead now, because I definitely thought there was going to be more there, but I guess there must be a bigger picture that we're going to get soon, and I figure we'll probably get more info anyway coming up, because they can definitely do like flashbacks and stuff to what was actually happening. So
anybody else?
Yeah, I mean it's tricky with the whole. Charlie definitely shouldn't have killed Ethan. I totally understand his mentality of needing to kill Ethan, and he says, "Do you really think he would have told you anything, Jack?" Well, I don't know. I would say an hour with Saeed, then quite likely.
Yeah,
I think give him the Saeed, and he'd be telling us all the answers that we're desperate to know. And yeah, they could have got a lot of information out of Ethan by having Saeed interrogate him and get us some answers that we wanted to know. And Charlie put the nail in that. Again, I get it from his point of view, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, because there's something true about what Charlie's saying about like this guy's not going to tell you anything anyway. He's a danger to us. He's clearly already killed one of us. Like he's just going to escape and continue to be a problem. Like I do understand where Charlie is coming from, and like I don't necessarily totally disagree, but like yeah, if you can tie him up and get Saeed to use his Republican Guard tactics on him, like maybe he'll talk. But I don't know, like it's a very big risk, especially then like if you're bringing him near the camp and he's already killed people. Like I'm on the fence about whether or not it was a good idea to just kill him and be done with him. But yeah, I do like the flashback. I like the like I said, the juxtaposition of Charlie in the real world. Like he wants to kick his habit and he wants to be this good person, and then like he just can't, right? Like eventually it just takes over and he does the thing that he's not supposed to do. He makes the bad choice. And so now he's on the island and he gets to actually like, he can't make that choice here, So he asked Locke 3 times, but like, he gets to now be that person that he's been trying to be for so long. So I do appreciate that.
Gregg?
So I agree with Charlie shooting Ethan. Half measures have not worked up until this point, and you just gotta do what you need to do at that point. But now that we're at the last flashback, I would like to mention how incredibly awesome Charlie's story is, just because of how realistic it is.
Yes.
His friendship, his brother, they're all to blame for him. He's not just by himself in the fact that he's a junkie. He is a junkie and he wants to be different, but the people he surrounds himself with is what sends him back to it every time, just about.
Yeah.
And
it's very easy to dismiss him as just a junkie, but he's much more than that. Which I think is true of most people in that situation.
Right.
Right.
I did like as well that we get like callbacks to information that we knew already from the past Charlie episode, like his brother just had a daughter and all this stuff. So, and we can see where this fits in the timeline. Obviously, this is before he goes to see his brother before he gets on the plane. So,
Well, with that was definitely homecoming, a homecoming of all kinds of crazy proportions. But Jake, do you want to kick off our favorite and least favorite?
Yeah, of course. All right. Favorite character. I think I'm gonna go with Saeed, actually. I think honestly, like the way Saeed is like getting them to like set up all these perimeters and like set up this ambush of Ethan and take him out, like I think that they don't get that, to go off without Saeed planning and like helping them like strategize for what they need to do. So I really liked Saeed here. And then least favorite, I mean, I'll just say Ethan because he's scary and he literally is like the way he moves, the way he just, emerges from the woods. It's just, terrifying. So I'm good putting Ethan as my least favorite.
I'd like to go because I'm going to counter that next. I'm actually going to have Ethan as my favorite character of the episode. I totally understand least favorite character, but this is Ethan's death episode. Like he did such a good job in such a short amount of time. Like we've talked about with just being this terrifying character. Like William Mapother, we talked about being Tom Cruise's cousin. Would have been good if Claire had done like the Tom Cruise run when she was running away from him. Yeah. But yeah, he did such a good job. He truly, it's one of the most scary villain performances I've seen on a TV show in literally like 2 episodes. He's fantastic. So I'm going to give it Ethan. Rest in peace, Ethan. Or rotten hell, Ethan. One of the two. And least favorite character, I've got to go with Boone. He sucks. He's useless. Absolutely useless.
Okay. Useless is all right.
I mean, I agree. He is useless. I am torn. So like, here's the thing: is I have 2 characters and I have 2 slots. So I can't decide. Like, so like, on the one hand, Ethan is the best character because he is such a formidable villain and like as a character, such a great character, but terrifies the shit out of me. So like, he is both in some ways my favorite and least favorite, and then Charlie is also in some ways my favorite and least favorite. He is. Like I said, he is trying so hard to be this good person that he's wanted to be for so long, and like that his brother messed him up from being, but at the same time, he makes so many mistakes and like does so many things wrong. And like, it's so easy to like see, like, obviously that was the wrong thing to do, like he messes up so many things that like, it's hard to say he's my favorite character, but like, he also is like on such a journey and goes through so much that like this is one of the episodes that makes me fall in love with Charlie. But so they're both in some ways my favorite and both in some ways my least favorite. So I make a little like cross section tic-tac-toe board of where that fits.
Oh my god. Gregg?
I'm gonna agree that Ethan is the best from this episode, just because his performance was absolutely stellar. Worst though, or least favorite, I have a 3-way tie between Tommy, Shannon, and Boone because uselessness runs in the family apparently. But Tommy is a horrible friend. Like, he's a piece of shit. He's probably one of the top 5 biggest pieces of shit from this entire series.
I mean, to put him up there with Thomas and freaking
Tommy and Thomas.
Ryan and
Susan and Brian.
Brian and Susan. Yeah, I know. Like, I don't know.
Sorry to bring them up again, guys. I'm sorry.
I know that just was like.
I thought we were done with them. Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Right.
Yeah, it is like he does suck really bad. But he's in it for so little, like
but very impactful.
right. Yeah, I agree with that choice. That's a good choice.
So all right, because you guys have just done so many dirty things. I'm making
Tell
Boone
us how
favorite.
Boone is your favorite, and
I'm
Shannon's
making
your
Boone
least
my favorite and Shannon my least favorite this episode because you guys are such assholes. Boone tried. Can we just take this moment to really
No.
Boone stepped up. He is trying. Did he fail? Yes. But he is trying his hardest, okay? Meanwhile, you have Shannon, who is the actual useless one of this entire series, ruining things by telling the heavily pregnant woman that shit is going to hit the fan because of her. Like, he went off camera. I don't care. I don't care. She's a horrible, horrible person. But in reality, so yes, Boone and Shannon, but in reality, I am going to, I have to do it. I did this in an episode before. My least favorite and my favorite are going to be Ethan, because obviously Ethan is the most phenomenal character of this episode. I mean, even just in his couple episodes that he's in, he is a phenomenal villain, and we know I love a good villain.
Well, you are one, so
I am, but we also have to consider he is a horrendous man that is doing horrible, horrible things. So fantastic character, horrible person. So he is going in my official favorite and least favorite, but sidebar, Boone and Shannon.
The proper answer for a horror fan.
Yeah. All right. So let's go for episode rankings. So where do we stand at the moment?
Okay, so number 1 is Walkabout. Number 2, The Pilot, Part 1 and 2. Number 3 is Confidence Man. Number 4, All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues. Number 5, House of the Rising Sun. Number 6, Solitary. Number 7, Raised by Another. Number 8, White Rabbit. Number 9, Tabula Rasa. And 10 is Special. I'll not go into 11 to 13 because I don't think it's going to be going there.
Yeah, it's not. I would say probably 4 or 5 for me, like right around All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues, and like I honestly think I'll probably put it there. So like I'll say number 4. I think it was a really good episode. We got to see like a major conflict, a terrifying antagonist, and I think that it's really good to have a good villain for a show or a movie, and you genuinely feel something when you see them, because sometimes you get really bad villains and it hurts the show or movie a little bit. So yeah, I'll put this number 4 for me out of the episode so far.
I personally was looking around there. I was going to put it underneath All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues. I think just because of the amazing Jack story in that episode, and the scene with Charlie and the hanging of Charlie and everything that went into that. I think, ironically, we're talking about the 2 big Ethan episodes here, and I think they're kind of on a par with each other. But I think the overall story of All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues was better for me, so I'd go down just below that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Gregg?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Oh wait, did you say Gregg?
You can go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Gregg. Go ahead, Gregg.
Okay, so personally, to me, I wouldn't even rank this in the top 10. There's not enough in this episode. When you break down the whole episode, it was Charlie was a junkie, Claire's back, Charlie killed Ethan. That's the whole episode. There's not enough story in it for me to put it in a higher place.
I mean, there's a lot of suspense there.
But
I don't know. It's an action pack, but that's going to really affect the average.
I mean,
so where would you put it? So outside of the top 10, we have The Moth at 11, Heart and Mind 12, and whatever the case may be, 13.
I put it at 11.
11.
I was going to say like above Solitary, which is what number?
That's
6.
Yeah, 6. Right. So like to put it above Solitary, to me, like, because I've said this before, I love the mystery of the island, and this is very much building on like what is going on in this island, you know. So Solitary gave us Rousseau, gave us the French woman, and gave us the cable that just disappears into the ocean and then disappears into the jungle. And this gives us like this crazy, terrifying villain that like will stop at nothing to kidnap the pregnant girl. Like, like there's obviously a lot going on that we don't know about, and I'm like I couldn't wait a week for another episode. Like, so this very much invested me in that mystery. And then I just like Charlie.
You fought for the Martha, now you're fighting for the other Charlie episode.
I know. I just love Charlie. Like I don't know. I've sent friends to rehab, right? Like I very much understand Charlie. So like I just love him.
Yeah. All right, Kristin, you're up for the ranking.
So this one's a hard one actually for me. Because I too thought I love Charlie as well, and I think that the moth I'm surprised that the moth was down so as low as it was. I'm also like, I mean, I fought for like Raised by Another as well because, you know, I feel like there was a lot. And when I've done my rankings, I'm very much like where Gregg is at of like what we're getting in that episode, like how much information, flashback and island that we're getting. So for me, I'm kind of agreeing with Gregg. I don't know if I would necessarily put it. But here's where it gets tricky. I don't think it gave us. I know this one's hard for me because like I don't think it gave us more than we got in special because we got so much information in special. However, the Ethan of it all is insane. Like if it was literally just that we had no flashback, then yes, I would put it way higher because I feel like it was like just action packed, right? But because of the flashback, it takes it down a little bit. So
that's fair.
I don't know. I have nowhere. I mean, I have nowhere to put it. I'm at a loss actually because I'm so torn with this episode. I do agree with Gregg that I want to put it at 11 because I don't think it gave us like as much as we got from special, but also the bits that we did get with Ethan's storyline makes it better than special and better than Tabula Rasa and those types of things. So that's where I'm having a really hard time actually ranking this. So I like spin a wheel and put it where it lands because this is where it's so difficult for me to actually place this episode because like I said, it's the island stuff jam-packed, phenomenal job, like chef's kiss because Ethan is diabolical, but the flashback of it all, like I get why it was needed, but it was so like we don't care. Like for us to like literally have a flashback to get one line out of a flashback. I mean, granted, it's getting us a little bit more of Charlie's story and his you know addiction and things like that. It still's not like doing anything for me. So I don't know. I'm gonna go with Gregg. I'm gonna put it at 11.
So we have a 4, a 5, a 7, and 2 11s. What do we do with that?
What does that average out to?
Sounds like it's going to like
4 minus 9 and
probably
7,
probably
11 is
around
16 plus 22 is 38 divided by 5 is close to 8. So that's like
15,
close to 8.
16.
So yeah, put it at 8, I guess.
Yeah, let's do 8.
Average it out.
White Rabbit gets knocked down again.
Oh, poor White Rabbit.
Wow, that's the most divided ranking I think we've had so far.
Yeah.
It was hard for me. It was hard because of the stupid flashback. It ruins it.
It really was a good episode aside from the flashback. It just didn't sit with the rest of the story.
Yeah, when you guys say that, yeah, I understand that. So, yeah, I'll still stick by my ranking, but I understand.
No, I mean, that's why I was having.
I understand, in the words of a wise drag queen, I understand your concerns, but I do not share your concerns.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, with that, we're on to our spoiler section, so you guys can talk all the details, and we'll see you all next time on the Tribe of Nerds.
Bye.
Still fuck you, John Locke.
All right, here we are for Tribe of Nerds after Jake, the spoiler section of Lost. So if you have not seen Lost in its entirety, not just the season, in its entirety, Get out. Now's the time to go. We are going to spoil all kinds of things. So move it, move it, move it. Let's go. Let's go. You've got to go. All right. That's been enough time. All right. Let's jump into our episode 15, Homecoming. Who wants to start?
I have one thing from the beginning of this episode.
Okay.
It's ironic as well that it's John Locke that says it. Locke says, what if he just wants to get us in a confined space where he can take us all out at once? This is exactly what the Man in Black, as John Locke, is going to do with the submarine in the final season. A confined space where
my heart,
we can't have no hope of escape. It's literally line for line, pretty much.
Yeah.
That entire situation. I don't know if I caught that before, but as soon as Locke said it, I was like,
oh,
that's not going to end well.
Jerry O'Quinn's gonna do it again.
He's such an asshole.
That's not him.
I know, but it's still him.
I said Terry O'Quinn and not Locke.
Listen, I'm very much. I'm almost there. I'm almost on the train for Kevin. We're not quite there yet, but the FU John Locke will be coming for me as well. But bringing up Claire. Obviously, we don't get anything of where she was this whole time. We do know for us that it is coming up. It comes up in what, season 2, right? No,
I think so. Yeah,
3.
Yes, 3. It might be 3 actually. It's one of those seasons. I don't have the exact one, but we do have it.
2 because Libby helps her remember.
Yes,
season
that's right.
2,
Okay,
yeah.
yes, that's what I thought. I thought it was 2. But yes, because we have her go back. But also the important part of this too is it was mentioned later on by Ben as well that was not part of the plan. Ethan took Claire. This is not part of the others' plan. He's nuts. He's a crazy man. He did this all on his own. So I kind of wanted to hint because we know that things are coming up with the others. To Jake, that I was like, I get what they were trying to do, find out where Ethan came from, to find out if there's other people that are going to be coming back like Ethan was doing. They have no interest right now in Claire. Like, that was not part of their plan. Like, eventually, we know that they were talking about it because obviously of all the pregnancy issues and all those things that happened on the island. But that was not the time. He took, and we see, Ethan telling people later on in the flashbacks that we're getting, it was like, well, I had to, they were starting to get suspicious and blah, 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 blah. So we know why he did it. But that was not part of their original plan. So, but we do get Claire getting the flashback of everything that happened, and how she did escape Ethan, but didn't technically escape him. She was kind of forced out a little bit. So, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we will see
Alex and Russo.
It's just gonna be a while. It's crazy to think now too that like she's so like doped up in those scenes in the future, in the future seasons where she's like, oh yeah, this is great, and like very much not like that in season 1 here.
Mm-hmm. No,
right?
No, but also, I mean, to prove that point though, that is why she is so why she's missing memories, why she's so out of whack, is because of how drugged he had her up again. Because he's insane. This man is off the rocker.
I have a new theory about this episode because apparently there's a deleted scene where Ethan breaks through the security perimeter and fights Locke, who stabs him in the thigh, and that's why he has a limp in one of the scenes in the show.
I read that.
Well, maybe we're missing a lot because that scene's not there, because even Damon Lindelof, I can't say his name. Even he said this is his least favorite episode, and he wrote the thing.
Right.
Like, because the flashbacks didn't fit with the show.
Yeah. No, I mean, we talked about that. Like I said, I think, I mean, we could have done so much more with Charlie. Because we know how complicated Charlie is. I mean, even like this is far out here to the Looking Glass where he has his like list. We could have like brought in things from that to prove the point of like, you can't take care of anyone. We could have had Dad say these, like, this whole storyline was just not worth it. But like, I just felt like we could have done so much more with that flashback than we did. So as much as I love Charlie and his story, and I get where it's leading to progression of Charlie, but yeah, not my favorite. So
yeah, certainly not the strongest Charlie episode. I think we talked about the last one where it was with Special, where it was very flashback heavy, and the flashback side of things really propped up the story. This was kind of the opposite way. Like, I just personally think the on island stuff was some of the best stuff we've seen so far. And I agree, like the flashback wasn't amazing, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, to me the flashback is fine, but it's the like I remember watching and thinking, who just shot him? Like, was it Rousseau? Was it someone like was it one of his own allies that like didn't want him to speak? And like I didn't want to say anything for Jake about that because like we know there are others, but like that was a thing that I thought at the time was like, what did one of his allies like shoot him from the bushes?
Right. Yeah. We turned around onto Charlie.
And it turned around, it's Charlie instead. But like I love that like all the layers of everything goes on in the island. So
yeah.
I like it.
One thing I'm going to point out that you guys have not mentioned yet, I mentioned when we had our hearts and minds, the detective had the one light eye and the one dark eye.
Oh God, who has dark eyes and light eyes now?
They don't have, it's not their eyes, but when they go to the gun case, Jack and Locke are wearing black and white. Hence the black and white, the good and the evil of it all. So again, that was in there. I noticed it when I watched it this time, and I was like, it's like the numbers in the black and white things are like starting to pop out way more than they ever did for me on this rewatch. But speaking of numbers, Gregg, you're going to give us one that none of us saw, but we do know that that Ethan had the 4 scratch marks. So we have the 4, obviously, and then we have the 8. Couldn't you add them up? Scratches on there. We do have the 4 booby traps around camp. So those numbers were there. And then Gregg, tell us the one that you told us about that we were like, what?
The copy machine that Charlie was selling was a model C815.
Crazy. They're throwing them in there left and right and we're missing them. But yes, 815 obviously is a flight and of course part of the numbers as well. It's something about this rewatch. I don't know what it was for me. I love Lost for this reason that I've watched it so many times and I still pick up random things. Again, we know that those numbers are coming into play we're finally going to kind of somewhat understand these numbers. We never actually really understand these numbers, but we get their context coming up here shortly in just a few short episodes with Hurley, and obviously the mystery and all the things. But yes, and then even moving forward even more to the hatch and all the other things coming up. So the numbers and their importance is coming, but Jake has no idea yet. So
thing I had on this one. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we start like I'm already seeing like the seeds being planted of the downfall of Boone too, of the Saeed was right to be like, you want to like, because if you catch the guy, what are you gonna do? And Locke's gonna be like, we need your help. You're doing great, buddy, because he's got to manipulate Boone because he's got to manipulate everybody he can, and that's gonna get Boone killed. So I'm already like, God damn it. I hate you even more. I hate you even more in this rewatch than I used to in the beginning.
I hate you, Locke. I'm
my least favorite character in the episode he dies.
What'd you say?
I'm gonna make him my least favorite character in the episode where he dies.
You're gonna make Boone the least favorite character in the episode that he dies? What kind of fucked up nonsense is that?
I mean, the only thing he does in that episode is die.
Oh my God, you guys are so horrible right now. I cannot even. You know who mine is gonna be? Shannon, because she was off getting laid.
Oh my gosh. Your irrational hate of Shannon is more than my irrational hate of John.
That is inaccurate. That is actually inaccurate. That is so inaccurate. Also bringing up, obviously, we know that we are going to get to Claire having the baby on the island. That is coming up as well. Hence, it's actually the Boone episode. But with that, we do know that baby is going to be born, which is, again, one of the reasons why when she has those flashbacks is because of the baby being sick and things like that she has to go and kind of... and then later on, even further, they kind of come to the... they go to the... where Ethan took her. So... the other station.
Yeah, we're going to get
another state. We got all these stations. Yes. It's so funny because we mentioned that Kaysen, he really wanted to be a part of this episode. He is a huge Charlie fan, and I think I even sent you guys a video. He was like cheering that Charlie like shot Ethan. He's like, yeah. he was so happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a moment. But even just last night, he's ahead of us, but like he's getting to the hatch now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, when Jake gets to the hatch, and then all the other hatches, like all the other stations, it's like it's crazy.
Oh my gosh, when the map shows up.
Yes.
When they trigger the thing, and the map on the door, and
I know it's
crazy. Just looking at it.
I can't.
So many exciting moments.
I know. It's just like that's the thing that we can discuss in the spoiler section. Is there's so many, like we're getting. I have to say, I think even just now recently watching it, season 1's finale has to probably be the best finale of the series. I think, in my opinion.
Whoa.
And just knowing that that's coming up in that 3-part, like I can't wait for Jake. Like watching Kaysen watch it, like it was like, can't wait, cannot wait. So. Yeah.
He's gonna have to take the boy.
Right. What did you say? Yeah. But it was funny when I met Walt at that convention. The people in front of me, they were taking a picture and they were all like, "Okay, we have to scream Walt," and so they were like Walt as they did the picture. So I was like, great. So of course I can't share those things with Jake because he'd be like, "What?
Why are we screaming for Walt?
Why are we screaming for Walt?" Anything else on this episode of Homecoming before we end our spoiler section?
Yes. So this episode introduced a whole bunch of new music that's going to go along with characters that come together at certain points and certain other people, including the others. And like it now is the time where the music is going to become absolutely ridiculously deeply ingrained in everything on the show. Because like you're starting to get those sounds that are going to come up every single time you hear or see somebody on screen together and stuff like that. So that's something I want to watch out for this time. I don't think I've done it before, and I want to. Aside from that, all of the stuff, I did say that this episode didn't have very much in it content-wise, but it does have lots of setups for later in the series, and I like that. I can't wait till Jake puts 2 and 2 together with a bunch of them because it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
But the music, it's one of my favorite things from this show.
The only other thing I want to bring up too is Scott is our first person to like break ground on what will be their cemetery for a lot of their people. Obviously we know that Boone's coming up. We have, all the other ones that are going to die. We have our tail section, Anna Lucia, Libya, like all those. But Scott is our first, like, cemetery person, if you will. He is the mayor of the cemetery. And this is also the first episode since White Rabbit that everybody appeared in some context of the episode.
Oh, interesting.
He's also the person that's in the cemetery that is going to be mentioned the most out of everybody that ends up in that cemetery through the course of the series. Because of Steve.
Because of Scott and Steve. Scott,
Steve.
Who the hell is Scott?
Also, leading up, because obviously going into the finale, this made me laugh the other day because I forgot all about this, is on the raft. We obviously see that they have sent letters and whatnot. And Sawyer, of course, is being his horrible self and reading those letters that they had sent. And he brings up, I didn't know she was so missing her husband because she has been cuddled up next to Scott. And they're like, dude, he's dead. Like, it's Steve. Like, it's even still. So, yes, right. Greg, that's a perfect moment that they always are mixing up Scott and Steve. Poor Steve. That's all he has.
He's the dead one.
Right. Anything else that you guys want to mention before we end our spoiler section? All right, perfect. Well, we are going to end our spoiler section. If you enjoy this, if you want to know more, keep watching, subscribe, comment.
Comment, subscribe.
If you're going to comment a spoiler, put spoiler alert, and then
spoiler,
and if that, engage with us, ask us questions. We'd be happy to answer them on the podcast. If you have questions about the lost content, again, if it's a spoiler thing, make sure you cover those up. But
argue with us about our ranking for the episode.
And how much you actually hate Shannon as well. I'm here for it too. So it will be.
We'll defend Shannon. I could use all the help I can get. Tell me how much you love Shannon.
You do need all the help that you can get because she's such a horrible person. It's just easy to do. So with that, let's see if I can make Michael turn off his camera on the next episode. We will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.